Happy Thursday, folks. It is Sharla Kornegay coming live to you with another Forever Friends podcast. How are you guys doing? Good evening, one and all. As usual, I'm happy to have another opportunity to have a great conversation, hopefully tonight with you guys. So let me do a full introduction of myself just in case there are any newcomers. My name is Sharla Kornegay. I am an author, recording artist, creator of Interact Coaching and Forever Friends Academy, which is my subscription-based membership. And thank you guys for being on with me tonight. This is my show, Forever Friends Academy, titled after the same as my group membership. And we talk about all relationship topics. And hopefully, extract some principles. My main goal is to provide fundamental principles that people can develop their relationships on. So that when life challenges come, which they most definitely will, you'll have something to anchor your relationship in so that it doesn't get uprooted but actually stands through the test of time. So, enough about me, and I see some folks in the building at the tippity top. Oh my goodness, my beautiful sister Dana. How are you, lovely? Justin Ross, how are you? Good to see you. Well, not see you. See your icon. I'm glad you stopped by. And Fee X Promo, thank you. I think this is your first time to the podcast, so welcome. I hope you hear something that you really like tonight. If you are interested in hearing any of my music when I'm on stage, I go by Sharla K. That's Sharla with an S, not with a C. And, just mosey on over to your favorite listening platform and, peruse my catalog, while I, get some new music to you guys soon. Oh my gosh, I got Frank in the building. All these lovely folks. How you guys doing? Hey, Frank. Always good to see you. Absolutely appreciate all of you guys coming in. So now that I got all of you to the tippity top, at the tippity top of the episode, I'm going to throw out tonight's topic and, of course, get you guys' thoughts on. I'm going to throw out a quote for anyone who's new. I usually throw out a quote and then I throw out a question and then, hear your thoughts from it. So the quote that I'm going to throw out tonight to you guys is actually a quote that I heard from, and I don't know, I guess it's a viral interview. It is from another podcast that I have not watched, and I will do a disclaimer, I have not watched the entire podcast yet, but it is Cam Newton's podcast, and he just recently had Dr. Cheyenne Bryant on it, and I've seen all these little snippets from so many different people posting different, I guess, what they felt like were gems or principles that they got from the interview. And so on the interview, he was interviewing her. She was on his podcast. He had made a statement that came from his mother. And the quote goes like this, or the statement goes like this. He said that his mother, I think she's only been with his father, and he looks to her for a lot of, relationship wisdom. And so the quote that she said to him was that everybody wants to find a happy ending, wants to find heaven in a person and ride off into the sunset. But no one wants to find someone worth going to hell with. Ooh, I don't know about the with part, but I'm going to say it exactly how he said it on the show. So I'll say it again to you guys and let me know what your thoughts are. As usual, do you think that's a truthful quote? Do you think it's something that, a mindset that would help for having healthy relationships? So let me know. I'm going to say it again, okay? Just so you have it. This comes from Cam Newton's mother, and he stated on his podcast, he said, everybody wants to find a happy ending, wants to find heaven in a person and ride off into the sunset, but no one wants to find someone worth going to hell with. I would change that with to for, just for me. That's just my little addendum. But I get it. So that's the quote, folks, the statement for tonight. So let me know what your thoughts are. Frank's like, I don't know if that's a like I'm thinking that sounds good, or side eye. So let me know what your thoughts are on that. And Yeah. What are your thoughts on it? I think, Justin, so I'm still thinking about it. I know, right? I just throw things out and be like, think about it now. Let me know what you think, what you're thinking. But I thought it was a great, I guess, great statement to introduce the topic that we're talking about tonight, which is healthy relationship ecosystems. And I also thought I wanted to bring it to you guys because that statement, they were on opposites in regards to him in the podcast. He believed that it is true, and that it is something that you need to have in your relationship to be able to actually have an enriching relationship that can withstand the highs and lows, the dips and the ebbs and flows of life. And on the podcast, she was kind of saying, you know, we don't want to kind of remain or live or relive trauma. So why should it be, or should the person have an expectation to have someone, you know, have to be with someone that you have to go to hell with or hell for. So, so I thought that was interesting in their different perspectives in it. Frank says it makes sense, and Dana says I think it's true. Okay, and Justin says I agree with that. Okay, so I think so far everybody else who's come on so far would be leaning more towards, I guess, Cam Newton, who's the one who made the statement, his ideology from it. And something else that she said interesting on the podcast that I think to me expose why she has the perspective or the point of view that her take on that statement. She said something that basically that people who are healed, kind of navigate relationships or think about want versus people who are still dealing with trauma focus on need. And I thought that was a really interesting statement that she made. And I'll say it again so that you guys will have something else to ponder on. She said that basically that people, and I guess I'll post it as a question for you guys, do you agree with that statement? And do you think that someone who, quote unquote, is healed, whole, navigates, relationships, their life, their thinking more so from want versus someone who is still dealing with trauma? Maybe the trauma is still kind of a master over them where they navigate more so a relationship space with need. So let me know what your thoughts are on that. I agree with you guys. I like the quote. I just did my little addendum, and I guess maybe that's me. Listen, I'm open. Maybe I need to grow a little bit more in that area. But the reason why I said go to hell for, and I get the go to hell with, idea of it, meaning that, okay, you want the beginning part of the quote saying, everybody wants to have a happy ending, wants to find heaven in somebody and ride off into the sunset, but nobody wants to go to hell with, meaning that when the challenges of life occur, when things do not seem to pan out and disappointment comes and things like that, most, especially in today's culture, most people just want to call it quits. Like it's not necessarily, necessary to remain committed because I signed up for the heaven, but I didn't sign up for the hell, right? And I think definitely that is a mentality that distinguishes relationships of, as they would say, maybe the old school, of old age, where you have more people who are, right, anchored in that type of mindset where it's, no, we're not just going to call it quits because it's not interesting or it's not fun or it's, or we're going through something right now. We're going to stay anchored in the vows that we made to each other, which is not necessarily so, with modern day culture, people are not committed often. So I understand that part. But the reason why I made the little change to no one wants to find someone that they would go to hell for is because I kind of every time, well, not every time, but often when I hear statements or quotes or things that stand out to me, because of my experience in my relationship and what, Ben and I glue our relationship to is anchored in God. So I always kind of look at it from a spiritual lens or try to see it from a biblical perspective. And I thought about, Christ coming and, Christ after he's resurrected, it talks about, him going, and into the depths of hell to be able to be the bridge that would allow, souls that were suffering, right? Whether it was people who living life in a suffering way or had already, right, passed and gone in a hellish, right, experiencing a hellish state where he basically took the keys, right, and offered freedom for them. So that's why I thought about for rather than with, because I think you need both. I think you need to be willing to know that the person that you are choosing to vow your life commitment to is not only someone that you know that you delight in experiencing heaven with, but also that if there are tough and rough times that come, that this is a person that, yeah, I will go to hell with and come out, right? Or even if, which often happens in relationships where maybe one partner is experiencing something or going through changes and maybe the other one is not, that person holds the fort for them, or stands in the gap in the same way Christ did for all of us, to be able to, right, go to hell for them, to pull them out of that state, or at least present an opportunity for them to embrace the opportunity to get out of whatever hellish experience that they're in. So I do agree with the quote. I understand from the framework of what the doctor was talking about that you don't want to get into a toxic relationship where you feel like, that is what all love is about, to have to go through, all of this unnecessary, maybe pain or suffering to prove your love to that person. I think that's where her perspective was coming from. So I understand that. But I think if you talk to any person who's been in a long-term relationship, or definitely people, who have been married for a long time, they will tell you, oh my gosh, if it's not between, and their union is solid and there's peace and love and joy there, life still happens and life still comes to, hit us with certain blows and present, a process or season of pain and suffering. And we want to be able to hold each other's hands and stay anchored in each other to be able to go through that. So I agree with it, that quote in that sense. I do. But let me know what your thoughts are on what she was saying, that a healed person kind of functions and kind of navigates the relationship space thinking more so want, versus someone who has gone through trauma thinks need. And I think and I'll just add a little context because I don't want to take it out of context of what she was saying. When she said that, she was having a conversation with him where he had said something about particularly Black women being very investigative, and whether it's you have a little gut feeling and they're going to go through your phones and go through on social media to find out all of these things. And she said, she found that to be really toxic. One, that you highlighted Black women as the ones to do that, but also that that's not a healthy relationship where you have to feel like you have to go through and be an investigator for anyone. In her statement, she was saying personally for her, she is, because I don't believe she's married as of yet, and she said she's looking for a man who she's only going to be a wife. She's going to be a woman. She's not going to be an investigator. And so she was saying, and a part of that, in that discussion, that's where that statement came up. So I think she was bringing up in regards to saying like, oh, a person whose trauma is still kind of the driving fuel for them is going to say, oh, I need this person in my life, from a very, I guess, more possessive type of mind state. Or at least that's what I'm thinking. That's what she meant, just because of how it was, the context that it was put in. That is like, okay, I almost in a toxic way, where it's like you don't have enough self love or identity within yourself that now you need this person. But we talk about it all the time on this podcast, the benefits of knowing the difference between wants and needs, and how to have a healthy relationship, you want to know that you need that person. So I kind of thought of it in the opposite end and look at it or think of it, meaning that I, at least just I'll say from my experience and also dealing with other people who have went through different, I guess, healing processes in life. When you are in the process of being healed from different things, one thing that I have noticed is that it helps, I guess I'll use a metaphor, the weights kind of fall off of you, or or if you embrace all of who you are and you embrace love, it lightens the load and it opens you more. And the energy that you use to kind of like chip away at the things that the traumas that have affected you. And when you don't have to do that anymore, it opens extra space to think about other things in life. And so I understand it from that point, if she means like survival mode, right? People who are trauma, they're just thinking about the need in that way, to where now there's no extra, right, space or room for them to think about other things. But I also look at it in this way, and in my own experience, what it's afforded me when I've gone through different healing transformations is that it opens your capacity to where you actually are focusing on the need more. Like for me, because I was born into a broken home where my mother and father were never married, and many of you guys know my story already, that my father passed away when I was young, age 7, and my mom couldn't really raise me. So a part of that transformation for me in being able to relinquish wanting to receive or holding on to the idea of receiving authentic love from them, and however I've envisioned it, and letting that go and understanding that their own story, their own journey, however they responded to life, it wasn't personal to me. And once I did that, it made me kind of tune in more to the essentials and the needs of life. And I don't know, you guys let me know, anybody who has gone through any other healing process, for them, it kind of anchored me more into thinking about the simplicity of life and the things that we truly need. And it was more of a process of peeling back the expectations or the wants that weren't necessary to anchor into the needs that would actually allow, right, for the full process of healing to come through. So for me, just answering the question until I wait, if anybody else is typing or still thinking about it, I think it's the opposite. I think people who, have gone through some kind of process of healing really navigate this life thinking more so about the need, not only from the example that I gave you of just kind of focusing on the simplistic things in life and finding contentment and joy from it and fulfillment, and not really necessarily getting so caught up in the disillusionment of this life, of the many things that you think that you can kind of add to your life, and wants that we have that we think is going to bring us fulfillment. I've found within my own experience and the people that I've talked to, or even people that I've coached that go through the transformation, it's really when they rest in, right? The focusing on the essential needs and realizing that those things are either innately already in them, innately already being met. Those needs are being met in their life. That's when there's like a true contentment that comes out of it. And I think also another tier is that when you have that space and that openness that opens up when you're no longer trying to kind of chip away at the trauma that you've encountered, then you start also to look outward to other people, other spaces, to where you're looking to how you can serve to meet a need or to help someone else. So one of the ways where you can know someone has gone through some type of process of healing is that they right have some kind of wherewithal to where it's like, okay, I want to extend. It's like you go through a transformation and you can't hold it all to yourself. So now you look for some kind of pathway or some way that you can offer that to another person, right? So that's also looking for the need or navigating, meaning like, I want to fill, where there is a need or yeah, that's the best way I can say it. Where there is a need, I now have cultivated or developed myself in a way that not only can I rest in the contentment of of my needs, right? Being met or the simplicity of life and realizing the things that really bring us contentment and satisfaction and fulfillment in life is when we strip away a lot of the things that are our wants, and we rest in that, and then that from that very, I guess, simplistic space is what fuels us to now be able to offer, extra energy, extra effort in the direction of others. So where I think trauma is different, it's like, at least the way I have experienced in the past, it's like you feel like you're just trying to grasp for air, meaning, but in a way where it's like, you're just reaching, like, I want it this way. I want it, I want to receive this love. I want to have this, whether it's finances or there's a lot of want and a lot of expectation that comes in the place that I think that truly blocks us from really receiving the true healing and the simplicity that comes sometimes with right the process of going through healing. So in that way, I kind of I understand from the perspective, at least I believe, I understand from the perspective and the context that she was talking about, meaning like you don't want to get caught up in having a relationship where if you have not really gone through a process of identifying, having self-love and, knowing who you are and things like that, that yes, the need in a way, in a toxic way, where it's like, I have to have this person to feel like I am of value or of worth. I get it, but we do have to, at least we don't have to, but what I try to present here is understanding the fundamental truth that whoever you are going to choose to vow and commit your life to, it has to be person. It should. If you want it to be a fruitful, healthy relationship, you want to identify that is a person that you need and that our relationships are pertinent because we have established that these people who we have centered or put in our life is a person or people that we need, not just want. And I think it's important and kind of connects to the quote that we introduced where it's like, okay, yeah, everybody wants to find the happy ending. Everybody wants to, ride off into the sunset and, be in heaven with someone, but no one necessarily, right, wants to go to hell with or for the person. And I think that can be heavily due to a culture and a mindset that says, I want something, but I don't need it, because it just goes against the true nature of the value and the way that true relationships that are enriching, that have the wherewithal to go through the tests of time and change and challenges of life. There is an understanding there, you know, in their minds, where that doesn't make them waver in their commitments when there is turbulence in their relationship or in the waters around them. So I'm going to see if I, just in case I didn't miss, because I was talking, I want to make sure that I didn't miss any of you guys' comments. Okay, I didn't. I wanted to just make sure I take some time, just in case I didn't miss any. All right, I have another. Am I posting this as a question? Yeah, I'll post it as a question for you guys. I have another question for you guys, and I want to know your thoughts on this. I think it all ties into what we've already been talking about when it comes to creating healthy relationship ecosystems. Now, I know all of us, if we gone through elementary school, middle school, or if you even just taught yourself, right? You learn about ecosystems often and the necessity, right, of how, whether it's the animals or whether it's the the food, plants and things like that they eat. You learn the interconnected, right, and the interdependence that they have on each other. And so when we're talking about healthy relationship ecosystems, I want to ask you guys this question: that if you were able to, what did he say? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm seeing Justin type in. Oh, thank you. He said I'm still here. He said I'm still here, and he's not going anywhere. Listen to what you said, and he really agrees on that. Appreciate you, Justin. I just want to take some moment, just in case I was missing something, to read to everyone what you wrote. Okay, so if you were able to create, right? Because that was also one of the questions that Cam Newton asked the doctor on his show when he was interviewing her. Well, I don't know if he asked her or if he just said that he didn't think that she had a healthy ecosystem because of the way she answered some of the questions. But I'm asking you guys, if you had the opportunity to, I guess, create a healthy ecosystem for yourself, who would be some of the first people that you bring into your space? So, like, basically, if God said to you, I am allowing you to literally put certain people in your life that you feel are going to going to give you the best advantage to be successful, at relationships, at romantic relationships, etc. Right? Who are you going to put first? It kind of reminds me of a little icebreaker question that I threw out like many moons ago when I used to come on during like the pandemic, and I remember I asked people if you had to build the world back again and you had to choose from either, having a farmer, having a doctor, having a teacher, et cetera, who would who would be the first three that you would bring to give yourself, that you felt like was the most important and essential people to have to kind of build back humanity? This question reminds me of that. So somewhat like that, if you could, create the best, I guess, I don't know, network team to create the best healthy relationship ecosystem for you, what would it be? So, for example, if you were like, okay, I'm going to put a pastor there, maybe you would say, I'm going to put a therapist there, a coach, etc. Maybe I'm going to put a divorcee there so I can learn from all of their pitfalls, or maybe I'm going to put, married people there. Who would be the people that you would think first things first? And let's put your top three, your top three type of individuals. What would you put? Who would you put? And while you're thinking about this, I guess, think about where you are right now, and do you feel that you have a healthy relationship ecosystem? I think because it's important. I I think, and I don't know if we are going completely away from it, but I feel like there is a shift when it comes to, at least when whether I'm listening to podcasts or listening to other people who are dive heavy into the area of relationships. I feel like we were in a space where and I guess some people still say it, but I think we were really heavily where you don't talk. What all you heard was like to tell people, don't tell people about your issues or your problems. If you want to have a good relationship, especially if you're married, you just deal with it between you and your husband. And that's it. And don't let anybody else, kind of get in between that. And I think now it's kind of shifted, a little bit, because I think people understand that while I understand not wanting to, to tell the right people, right? Because we don't want to tell the wrong person and then get toxic advice, toxic information, and then most definitely, right, it's just going to cause extra heartache and pain for the individual. But I think now in the space, especially since we have so much technology and social media, that what do we do when both those individuals, whether it's the husband or the wife or both, are in a very hard place and don't know exactly what to do, right? So it's like we want to have a community or some kind of, right, relationship ecosystem of people that we can go to, that we know, are going to extend the truth to us with love and be able to help us to learn how to pivot out of what we're going through, And I think definitely going through the pandemic into where we are right now in culture, I think more and more people are realizing how much community is necessary, and how isolating it can feel when to feel like you're doing something alone. So I like that shift is happening, and I think it is happening now with the support of that. Yes, talk to someone, but talk to the right person, right? I think it found its middle ground from like, don't talk to anybody and just protect your relationship, to where now it's like, okay, no, you definitely can talk to somebody, because many of us are going through similar situations, but talk to the right person and get the right information, right? So let me know. Hey, I am. How are you? Thank you for popping in. So you came in, we talked about quite a bit. But what you came in on, I was just asking them if God told you you have the ability to set up the best team. We're talking about healthy relationship ecosystems. The right people. You have the ability to put the right people around you to give you the best advantage to, have a relationship that will last a lifetime. Who are you putting there? Are you putting married people? Are you putting divorcees because you can learn from them? Are you putting pastors? Are you putting therapists? Are you putting coaches? That's what we're talking about, and basically how to develop and build, healthy relationship ecosystems. There's no space in this world that you can look out and it's not governed by some kind of ecosystem, right? And it offers checks and balances in life, and our relationships where they're necessary, and we function in interdependence. So I thought it was a good topic to bring up tonight. So that's the question that I popped out to everyone. But we also talked about a quote that I put out that came from Cam Newton's podcast, where he said his mother told him that everyone wants to find, wants to find and have a happy ending, someone they can have heaven with, but no one wants to find the person that they can go, through hell with, or hell for. And so I asked him, did everyone think that was a truthful comment? Good mindset to kind of have in a relationship to grow through all of the different changes in life. And we also talked about people who are healed, navigating relationship from a space, another quote that came out of that podcast, of want versus someone who's dealing with trauma, who focuses on need. So that's a bit of the summary. So let me know, folks. I know I threw out quite a bit to you guys. So let me know your thoughts on any of that, And if you guys have no thoughts on that, then I will just leave room and space if you guys have any questions to ask me. I'm all ears, and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. So we can leave space for that. But I'll wait and see if I get some answers from you guys. On some of the questions I popped out to you and statements. I'm just checking to see, make sure I didn't miss anything. Because the other day I was on, and good thank goodness I checked, because I did. Okay, nope. I don't think I'm missing anything. Okay, I just got one that came in from Emily. Okay, she says, so the 3 people I want to have in my little ecosystem is my friend who's dating somebody. You said, oh my goodness, she said you. Aw, and my boyfriend. Aw, that she just melted my heart. Okay, so Emily said, let me repeat that. She said, so the 3 people I want to have in my little ecosystem is my friend who's dating somebody, you, and my BF. Oh, I appreciate it. Oh my gosh, I appreciate it. Okay, so Emily's got her friend, a close friend, me, which I guess from the standpoint of having a coach, and her boyfriend. Very nice, And that's why, what I'm learning, and this is definitely a lesson that I've learned as I've gotten older, is that I love what Emily put, because she said my little ecosystem, And I think this ties into what we were just talking about, and me trying to kind of expound on why I think people who have gone through a healing process really navigate life more so focusing on needs rather than focusing on wants, and people who are kind of still grappling with the trauma that they've experienced in life more so navigate life thinking about wants, And when I think about wants, I tie it into expectations too, because those things really oftentimes block us from healing. Like, one of the greatest lessons that I learned in my transformation, and that I tell my clients all the time, that you can literally say it when you wake up in the morning, to start your day, is that to say to God, like, I relinquish, the way that I, am holding on to receive love, right? I think all of us, many of us, I won't say all, but many of us, we have a vision, we have an idea, and things that how we want to receive, especially when it comes to love, So for me, one of the biggest lessons that helped me go through my own process of healing from different dysfunctional things that I had experienced in my childhood was understanding that me, even if I felt like it was a justifiable reason, right? It was literally justifiable. Everyone who have told it to said that's absolutely what you should have been thinking, Charla, right? Any child would think that. And the thought that I was thinking that would circulate in my mind is that I want my father, I want my mother to be here, and I want them to love me in a certain type of way. I want them to do what I want mothers to, I want my mother to mother me in a way that mothers do, with the nurturing and the care. And I want my father to sit down with me and tell me stories and things like that. And the aha and light bulb moment for me was understanding that, okay, this is what I want, and this is a strong desire of mine, and this strong desire is not a bad desire, right? It's literally a positive outlook, and would have a positive impact. But because it is not, right, the reality in the present moment of my story, it is not the deck of cards that were handed to me. So as long as I hold on to that deck of cards, then I am holding on to, and I am literally imprisoning my own self, right? Because I have a way that I want to experience love. And so it was like, huh? You know how they have those moments in the movies where the light bulb comes on, or like the clouds open? Whenever it came to me and said, okay, I have to relinquish, I have to literally release and relinquish this, construction, this narrative I have told myself that I have to experience it via them and in this way, right? And I didn't even realize, which is natural for any child to do, right? Because your mother and your father are the fundamental people that are there to show you how to love, right? To receive, express love, etc. So you're going to be looking towards them for that. But I didn't know that in that moment, that if I continue to, want and desire it so badly to come from them in a certain way, that I literally was blocking my ability to receive love in so many other ways, right? And really blocking the source, So that's why I always tell you guys my story, my little pivotal moment where it came to me. It was like, okay, if your mother or father was here to love you in the way that you desire them to, or you think the best way for them to, where would it come from? And it's like, oh, it would come from you anyway, God, right? So what are you really looking for? Okay, I'm really, really looking to experience love, right? Or to experience the truth of it, and in all of its ways. So once I did that, and I could release that, and put myself and my heart more so in a certain posturing to say, okay, every day I'm going to look for, right, the different ways that God presents love to me, and then I'm going to honor it when it comes, because then it'll compound, right? But if I'm blocking it because I have it in this restrictive type of way that I'm desiring so much to experience it, then I won't see all the other, right, beautiful ways that people are offering it to me that aren't, the position of my mother and father. And so I often tell a lot of my clients, like, definitely say that. I relinquish, the way that I want to receive love, and I open myself up to the way that you want to present yourself to me, in this moment that love wants to present itself to me. And so that was definitely something that definitely, empowered the healing process for me. And once I could do that, then I didn't, hold them imprisoned in my mind in a certain way. And I didn't, I think one of the most empowering things it gave me is that I no longer blamed them, for anything that I went through. It allowed me to understand that anything goodness that you experience in the world and someone who's offering it to you, right? Like, we're just the packaging, the same person who is a package and a representation to give you the best feelings, right, in the world, the best feelings, and make you feel high in the best way possible, can literally pivot and turn to be the person that you now feel like is a package and a presentation of the pain that you experience, and it's a very humbling and sobering way to think of and view life in that way, because you understand that, you also have the possibility, right, to be that way towards another person, depending on what mind state you're in, and what is the state of your condition that you can be a reflection of light and truth to someone and bring them so much joy and happiness, and be also right on the other spectrum depending on your condition. So when you kind of realize that, it's easier to offer grace to people who are not in, at least for you, in the way that you're engaging with them, are not reflecting joy and goodness and light right now, and leave space and opportunities that hopefully those wheels will, those tides will turn, and the wheels will change. Oh my goodness, I am Sims. How are you? I had to give you a shout. I haven't seen you in a while. Okay, and Emily says possibly my honorary sister. Yeah, I like yours. And going back, I know I kind of went into that story and went somewhere else, but I started to say and connect that to Emily's statement, because I don't think your community has to be big. And something that I've learned as I've gotten older is that inner circle of friends, and or as we're saying, the healthy relationship ecosystem that you want to create, does not have to be this vast, expansive, right? It just has to be the people that you feel, right, that you know that you need, because what they offer you is going to help bring you clarity. So I love that she said my little ecosystem, because I think that's where you'll hear why certain statements like handle the business that you have in your marriage with only you and your husband come into play, because maybe the community or what people were going out and exposing, the things that they were going through, we're going to, number one, the wrong people. And it doesn't have to be, right, this expansive group or circle of people that you go through. It just has to be essential people that one, the fruits of their life either represent that and reflect that, or if, which I was curious to see if anybody was going to say, or would they have people who are divorcees, who have gone through some of the failure paths, just to have them so that they can learn from them, because there's so many, debates on whether people feel like people who have not what's the word, been able to really, right, live out the results of the things that they're coaching, should they even be in a space to do that, where people say, oh, if you're single, you shouldn't really be talking, about marriage to people, and things like that. So I was curious to see if any of you guys would put anybody like that in your top three of, people that you feel like you would need to create your healthy relationship ecosystem. I am good. I'm Princess. How are you? I'm good. I've seen a lot of beautiful people in here tonight, still doing what I do. Music and the coaching. So I'm glad to see you in here tonight. I appreciate you. So let me make sure I didn't miss any comments. I don't think so. I know. He said I miss panel discussions. I know. I haven't been on Clubhouse in like forever, ever. And here I'm gonna start it soon, where I can get people to come on and actually speak to me real time, where you guys don't have to type. You can actually come on interview mode. So I'm gonna start that very, very, very soon. So at least I'll have that. That's kind of like the panel. So yeah, hopefully that'll bring it kind of back around. Hopefully that'll bring it back around. But yeah, no, I don't see any extra comments to read. So maybe people are still thinking. It's fine. But while I have that space, let me know if you guys have any questions before we wrap it up for tonight. Those are the main things that I wanted to bring to you guys that we talked about. So I'm going to leave space just in case you guys have any questions. Does not have to be on the topic that we talked about, topics that we talked about tonight. It can be about something else. And then I'll leave space to answer those questions. While I'm waiting, I'll do a little summary, a review of tonight's episode, as well as put out if you are new on here, or even if you are a returner, but you have not signed up or subscribed to my YouTube Forever Friends Academy channel, where you get all the full live episodes. Please do so, because I would love, especially if you like any of the content and you think it's good information that needs to be spread, definitely would love for you to do that. So definitely subscribe, like, comment, spread, share, etc. I'm usually on 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursdays, and Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. So that's that. What we talked about tonight is the quote from Cam Newton's podcast. Everybody wants a happy ending. Everybody wants to find heaven. Find heaven in someone, right? And ride off into the sunset. But no one wants to find someone to go through hell with or go to hell for, right? And we talked about that. Most of the people on, really, not most, all the people on here said that they agreed with that quote. And I also agreed with it in the way of that. We want to, I always say on my podcast that every relationship is going to be tested. Every relationship has to be tested, because that's the way that we know that the relationship, the union as a collective, is formidable against the blows and challenges of life. Right? And how we know we're formidable is that when those challenges and those tests come with time and change, because time and change will bring those tests and challenges to us. It's literally a resource that God gave us to bring those challenges, that we know we are formidable, or the union is formidable, because we can stay anchored. We can stay rooted in our faith, in love, in the truth, through it all, to be able to, right, come out stronger, come out better, transform the relationship, elevate it to another level. So it has to be tested. I'm reading a book now, and I do not want to pronounce the name because I know I'm going to mess it up, but it's a book titled Flow, and I'm only in the beginning pages, and I love it so far. I will try to get the name for you guys and just check how to really pronounce it, because it's a very complex name for me to pronounce. I don't want to pronounce it in the wrong way, but if you want to Google it and look it up, it's called Flow. And so far, one of the things that have stood out to me in reading the book is that the author was saying that many of us, especially when it comes to the beginning stages of relationships, or just really in life overall, that whether it's the honeymoon stage of a relationship and everything seems like it's just perfect and going well, and we can't imagine that something is going to happen, bad in the relationship or negative, or if it's a country. He talked about in the book the Roman Empire, and how even in the state of a country, if there's no wars or turbulence that's going on in that country, and you have a country that is thriving, right, and making expanding their territory and things like that, we as human beings get really comfortable with the idea of thinking that, right, nothing is going to happen. And sometimes we can even forget how chaotic right, the universe that we live in actually is. And I love that statement because it's so true. It reminds me of the book that I'm working on, called Just Right and Imposition, where I was in the book, I talk about how, I was working on my title for the book, and then I homeschool my children, and I was homeschooling my son, and the scientist, the science teacher was saying, Earth is the just right planet for human beings, and I was like, whoa, it took me, I was kind of shocked because I was already working on that title. And then I heard that, and and then they began to expound because I was like, what do you mean? It's the just right planet, right? And they were saying that, of course, right, it's conducive for us living, right? The water, the atmosphere, etc. And so I was like, well, I get that, but then I was like, oh my goodness, though, right? This same Earth gives us blizzards, gives us tornadoes, tsunamis, but it's still just right, right? We have it somehow humanity continues to go on, and I thought it was such a great and truthful example of how relationships, real, like relationships that last the test of time and for a lifetime, how they probably feel about their relationship, right? Because you're not going to find perfection is impossible. So you're not perfect. That person's not perfect, but you can find someone who is just right for you, right? And in that just rightness, right? I think I just made that up. I don't know if just rightness is even a thing, but stay with me. Even in knowing that you're just right, understand, just like Earth is the just right planet for us, that it does not mean that you're not going to experience tornadoes. You're not going to experience earthquakes. Don't get it twisted that the universe that we live in is not chaotic just because we're going through a season where there hasn't been any earthquakes. There hasn't been any tornadoes. So I think when I was reading that in the book of what he was saying, I was like, it would be good for people who are single, who are dating, who are in the newness of a relationship, is to most definitely delight in that newness that occurs and all of the, beautiful chemical reactions and emotions that come along with that, but hold and anchor yourself into understanding that the world is still chaotic, right? And at any moment, right, turbulence can occur. So let's make sure that what we're anchoring our relationship in is not just getting high off of, right, the emotions that come with it, but really putting some fundamental principles that when the chaos comes, we can still stay rooted and anchored in it. And so I thought that was a really, really great example. And oh my goodness, beautiful Temp is in here. How are you, beautiful? I don't know if you're still here. She's probably like, what did I just come in to? Charlotte talking about earth and tornadoes and all kinds of stuff. But thank you for coming in, love. So I think, it ties in with the quote that we presented earlier on. And that's what that means, right? It means that's what that person, I guess, and I can't say that's what the person meant because I'm just hearing the statement that he said his mother made. But as I'm presenting it to you guys, I think a healthy way of thinking about that quote, and the quote I'm talking about, okay, Temp is still here. Hey, beautiful. The quote that we've been talking about tonight, Temp, came from the Cam Newton podcast in his interview with Dr. Bryant, and he said, the quote goes like this: everybody wants a happy ending. Everybody wants to find someone, that they can have heaven with, but no one wants to find someone that they can go through or to hell with or for, is what I'm adding on here. And to tie it into what I was just saying, that's the way that you can kind of look at that, is understand that even if in a relationship, whether it's in the beginning or whether you've been in a relationship for a long, long, long time, and there are seasons, right, of peace, of joy, of fulfillment, of contentment, where everything just seems to be just right. Do not let go of the reality that, right, challenges are going to come, and that a relationship must be tested to show you that it has the wherewithal to have longevity, to be a love that is, right, a lifetime type of commitment. So in knowing that, delight in all of the beauty of whatever season that you're in or the emotions that you have. But as you're doing that, make sure that you are building and you're developing certain fundamental things that you know that you're going to need in the relationship, because it most definitely is going to come up. I remember I had both Ben and I have, I don't know if I call a friend. Yeah, a friend. And she had recently been divorced, and she, kindly wanted us to meet the new person that she was dating. And so we had went out. I think they came to a show that we did, and then we went out to his home, and he hosted us. And at that point, they seemed like a lovely couple. And we were, sitting down listening to them. They're telling us how they met. And I remember, because I will never forget, she said the statement. She was like, everything is so good right now. I can't imagine anything going wrong in the relationship or, happening that wouldn't be good. And I think me and Ben, we didn't look at each other. Like we didn't go like that obvious. But, when you've been with somebody for so long, like we have been to, I knew he was thinking the same thing I was thinking. We were like, oh no. I think at that point we knew, uh-oh, this relationship is in trouble. And definitely, lo and behold, about a couple months out, the relationship dissolved, And I think it's because, and I get it, I think all of us, when we're experiencing very high states, right? It's like, you're up. We call it the bubble. Like you're up so high in a hot air balloon bubble that you don't want to get so disillusioned to not come down, to where it's not that you're premeditating something bad to happen. It's just a fact or truth of life. No difference from Earth being the just right planet that still has tornadoes, blizzards, all kind of things that we have to weather through. So that's the same thing. It doesn't matter how, joyful, peaceful, loving the relationship is presenting in the moment, knowing that life is going to have to throw curveballs at us that we will have to weather. So having that kind of grounding will help. And I think maybe people don't want to think about that because I think they'll probably think it'll put maybe make the highs or the emotions that you feel kind of somber, bring you into a place that you won't. But it's not true. It's not. I often tell people that when I married Ben, before I married Ben, did I just say married? Oh Lord, before I married Ben, I was scared. I was scared of marriage, and particularly I was scared because of the statement, making the vow for better, for worse. And in my immature mind, I just automatically thought, oh my gosh, this person's going to get worse. Like, I'm signing up for the worst and I don't even know what the worst is, but I got to stay there. So that's, for me, that was something that I just was like, oh my God. Like, I have to really come to a place where I can do this. And I don't know if I'm there, and it was just my immature thinking, and also I didn't have my parents earlier on. So I got very comfortable with loving people from afar, that whole relinquishing that I told you guys about, and which was so great for me. It had a different effect, in relationships where it was fine. It was like, okay, if you're not here, I'm okay, because I found the truth. And okay, God's my source. That's where the love has come from anyway. So I don't necessarily need it to come through you. So the gift that Ben gave me was I had to learn how to not love from afar, and can I withstand and stay, and not only receive the intensity of experiencing God's love coming through a tangible source, which is amazing. In my book, 7 Stages of Love and Relationships, I say that our relationships are a sacred opportunity and gift to be able to, give love a physical presence here. You know what I mean? That's what we do. So thankfully, I didn't run away from it, the gift, and I embraced it. And then when I did that, I understood, I grew, thank God, and understood it from a more mature place that it doesn't mean that this person's going to turn into a monster, right? But you know, life is not void of pain and suffering and process. And so that might present itself, as a worst. And can you still stay anchored together, for better or worse, and still love each other and still have faith in each other? So once I could kind of like submit to that understanding, then at least put me in a space where I could, you know, not jump in, but commit in that way in understanding it. So yeah, so that's what we have been talking about tonight, and no, should you sign up to a toxic relationship? That's not what that quote means. No, that's not at all what it means. No, you should definitely, I guess the best way I can put it is the way that I put it in my book, 7 Stages of Loving Relationships, is that sometimes we, in the beginning process of the development of a relationship, you want to hear the words, I love you, or, maybe you're apt to say it to someone after you've experienced certain things with them. But I always say, before you say I love you, think, can I serve this person for a lifetime? Because that's what most definitely you will be doing, and can I serve this person through the worst times as well as the good times, and serving is not, this weak type of thing that people have made. If you look across the world, the people who are the richest, the people who are, right? It's literally what the Bible says, let the greatest among you be a servant, right? The Jeff Bezos, the Bill Gates, those are people who saw needs and sought to fill them and serve in great capacities on so many different levels. So when you're thinking about serving, it doesn't mean that you are a weak person. It means that you are a person who has gone through the healing processes that we've talked about today, in so much that now you have capacity outside of yourself to offer and extend your talents, your gifts, your nature, your character to others in an impactful way. And that's what you do in a relationship. So yeah, you want to ask yourself that question, because that'll give you, I think, a more clear, grip on whether you can really stay committed to that person through the good and the bad, of life. So that's what we're talking about tonight. I thank everybody for coming in. As usual, I always say you guys can be anywhere. So even if you popped in here for 5 minutes, a minute, stayed for the whole podcast, I appreciate you. I hope that the conversation offered you something, that resonated with you, that you can say, okay, I can take that gem, that principle, that truth, etc., and apply it to my relationships, whether it's on an intimate level or other relationship dynamics. So I appreciate you guys. All right. And I don't think I see any other questions or statements. Let me know if you have any questions or statements, or if I need to make anything clear. But if I don't see anything else, then it's a wrap, folks. It is a wrap. We are going to call it a night. All right. But I will be back on, God willing, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until then, if you want to hear more, just subscribe to my YouTube channel, Forever Friends Academy, if you want to dive in a little bit deeper and want to do more one-on-one individual coaching, definitely if you're on Twitch, Facebook, etc., it's in the description. If you're on IG, definitely click the link in my bio and you can see, hear snippets from our group sessions and things like that. So absolutely. Oh, Tim's still on here. Absolutely. Thank you, love. It was a nice, pleasant surprise to see you tonight. I appreciate it. Everybody else, Dana, Justin, AJ, I am LS, I am Sin. So many people. I'm sorry for missing out. Emily, as usual, love you, hun. Frank, I'm sorry for missing anyone. Absolutely appreciate all of you guys for coming in and adding to the conversation so greatly as you usually do. So I appreciate it. And as always, like I like to say, until next time, always remember to live to love freely. Bye, guys. Till next time.